It's time to get your ass out of your chair and stay motivated.
It's 3 key elements to motivation. Let's get it. Welcome to the Edgy Entrepreneur Podcast, where we believe that if you're not focusing on your mindset, you are leaving 80% of your business on the table. I'm Coach Oriana Guevara.
And I am Daniel Tribby. Nice to see everybody today, or hear everybody today.
Welcome to the Edgy Entrepreneur.
Let's get it. What are we talking about today, Oriana?
We are going to be talking about 3 key elements to motivation. Motivation is a topic that I think a lot of people focus on because it's this feeling that people want to get, they want to have. They're like chasing motivation, which doesn't
it's fleeting
always
often,
work.
Right? There's this idea around motivation as something that you find, right? Or that we hear a lot of leaders talk about. Well, if I can instill some motivation into my team, and that's not how it works. You can't motivate people. People have to be motivated on their own, right?
They have different things that motivate them.
Exactly.
Right? And it can come from outside of yourself, but it can also come from within, which is usually where it's more long lasting. So what is motivation?
What is motivation? So you and I were talking a lot about this before recording this episode, and one of the biggest things that we keyed in on is Brendon Burchard. And if we're going to give a shout out to Brendon Burchard here, who's an amazing coach and performance individual who has done some amazing things, but we really love his definition of motivation, which he says that motivation is ambition plus action.
Right.
So ambition meaning you have to have that desire,
right,
want to do something, and then action meaning the obvious thing, you have to move to do something, right?
Right. Which is so interesting because most people will describe motivation as a feeling. Right? A feeling that they get in their body. And they want to, when they actually talk about motivation, they say things like, I don't feel motivated. Right. Or I feel motivated.
Or I'm waiting for something motivational to strike me.
Right. And it's like, so you're sitting around waiting for a feeling. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is ambition? Yeah, ambition feels a certain type of way. It can, but if you are not getting into action, you're not going to feel the feeling of motivation, right? So this is where I think that most people get stuck because they're waiting for the feeling before getting into action, right? Versus getting into action and then through that action, feelings of motivation start to become generated and circulate in your body.
Exactly. So you have to take the step, right? You have to find the purpose or the drive to want to do the action before then that action gives you some sort of motivating feeling to continue upon said action.
Right. What I usually talk about when I talk about to people about motivation, I talk about how motivation is an energy that we generate. You have to generate the energy of motivation in yourself, right? For whatever those reasons might be that are kind of like plugged in to the energy that feeds you that energy. Whatever that is going to be person specific. Right. It'll be intrinsic, extrinsic. Maybe it's money. For some people, it's not money at all, right? For other people, it's something different, and we'll talk about some of those. But you have to actually do something to generate the energy and the feeling of motivation within yourself. So
exactly,
it starts with what, right? So let's say I want the thing, I have the desire. That's ambition, right? Now I have to get into action, but how the hell do I get into action? What do I do to get into action?
Yeah, I think there's 3 things that a lot of people either have or don't have that really push them into the action part. Right? And we're going to jump into those 3 elements because I think you and I would agree that we believe without these 3 things, you're never going to want to take action. You're never going to feel the desire or the motivation to do anything. Right? Yeah. And so the first one of those that we talk about is connection. Right? Are you connected to the thing that you're wanting to do? Are you connected to your job? Are you connected to being a parent? Are you connected to the desired outcome that you want, right? So let's talk a little bit about connection. Why is connection an important thing for motivation?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about connection and make that relevant to let's say, a particular task or responsibility, something that you need to accomplish within your work, right? Like, this is where I consider vision to be super important.
Right.
You know, like, do you feel connected to the vision of the final outcome that you are trying to create? Does your vision for what that is, or does that final outcome even matter to you? You know, because if it doesn't matter to you, you're probably going to find yourself having feelings of frustration, annoyance in the process versus enjoying the process of getting there.
And I think that's one thing that I know this is one thing I tell a lot of my clients in my healthcare space when they get into this, like, I feel like I'm in a rut. I don't feel like I'm motivated. I feel like I'm scattered. I don't know what to do. And I say, well, reconnect to your vision. What was the vision? And vision is a very powerful statement. The vision is typically that change you want to see in the world, right? If you're a business owner, it's your mountaintop, right? So from a vision standpoint, reconnect to it, right? Sometimes we lose sight because we get in the day-to-day just minutia of shit, right?
Yes.
And you lose sight of that. So reconnect to your vision.
Yeah. I'd also say reconnect to your why. You know, why is it that you want that thing? You know, we talk about ambition and desire, and that wanting, right? Within that desire is also a hyper awareness that you're not there yet and that you don't have it yet, which doesn't feel good, right? So how do you shift out of that, like, hyper awareness of I don't have this and I want it, or I don't have it and I need it, which is even an even more powerful feeling because it sends you into fight or flight. It activates your nervous system, essentially, right? Because now you've made it part of your survival.
Yeah.
You know, so how do you shift from that to, like, okay, I want this thing, and also, like, having it is going to make me feel this way, right? Or is going to provide these benefits in my life, so that you can focus on what feels good about the vision and not on the not having itness, the state or frame that you're in right now, right?
And I think you mentioned this word thrive, right? So our primitive brains are programmed to do two things: thrive and survive, right? So think about, if I'm connected to a conversation, I'm in the conversation, and it's typically because something about that conversation is allowing me to grow or to learn, and it's making me thrive, right? If the conversation is boring as shit, right? I'm at a networking event and you're boring me to death with your lack of whatever you're saying, I'm more concerned about the bacon wrap dates that just passed behind me, because those help me survive, right? So my brain is not connected to what that person is saying, right? The same way that your brain may not be connected to your vision or your why anymore, and you need to realign yourself. But even more than connection to the work is, say, connection to the environment or to the people that you're working with. Or can you look around the community and see your influence in the community? Are you connected to it?
Yeah, one of the 6 human needs is contribution. So in what way does pursuing that ambition allow you to foresee yourself making meaningful contributions to a community, right? Whether that's the people you serve or your community in general or at large. You know, that is something that can support your ability to generate the feeling of motivation and keep that in your body for a longer period of time versus this kind of like fleeting feeling, you know, where we kind of have this expectation that we're just going to wake up and feel motivated. No, you're going to wake up and feel like staying in your fucking comfort zone because that's what your brain was designed to do.
Right. Your brain wants the easy way, right? So, and it's sometimes hard to talk yourself out of that, you know, especially if you don't have connection to a vision, a community, to the coworkers. That's a big thing. You know, if you're not a business owner but aspiring to be, and you're listening to this, we're glad you're here. But think about it this way: have you ever taken on a job, like or a task inside of your job, and you had to work with other people, but you couldn't connect with those people, and so it made it really, really hard to get the job done, right? So you have to,
such a good point.
You know, are you connecting with the people that you work with on a regular basis? If not, it may be time to understand why that might be, right? Are you not motivated because you're not connecting to the group that you're with? You're not connecting to the job you have, and so that lack of motivation trickles down into other areas where you're just like, I just don't feel motivated because you're not connected to the job, to the task, to whatever it is that you're doing.
Or the way you're doing it. you need to find another way to do that thing, and I want to draw a distinction, because when we talk about connection, I want to make sure that our listeners have a clear understanding. We're talking about feeling connected to your vision, to the outcome, to your why, your community, etc., but not attached.
Yeah,
We're not talking about forming an attachment, which is different, right? When I form an attachment to an outcome, now I have to become really rigid and controlling about how I go about moving towards that outcome, right? And in every way that rigidity causes me to have to, only do certain things and only do them in a certain way and in a certain order, that's actually going to drain my energy and my motivation and my desire to move towards it, rather than accelerating my desire to stay in meaningful, consistent action.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is self-discipline towards that goal. Because when you're staying in meaningful, consistent action, and again, through that energy, that feeling of connection, it's going to actually make it fun, make you more flexible rather than rigid, make you more open rather than closed-minded about whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So can I give an example there? Like
Please.
from my standpoint. So I am a healthcare provider, right? So I'm connected to the healthcare space. I love being a healthcare provider. I love the idea that as healthcare providers, we help people with their problems, right? And myself as a coach for healthcare entrepreneurs, I'm helping them solve their business issues so that then they can turn around and provide a better experience for their patients, their consumers of whatever service they provide, right? That I have a connection to that space. But if I go to a healthcare office and I'm treated poorly outside of the way that I normally teach people, I don't go home and lose sleep at night, right? Because I'm so deeply embedded that it causes me emotional stress, all right? So the connection has to be one of positivity, like you said, not one of, oh my God, this is traumatizing.
Yeah. I tell people, when you ask people about their perceptions or like what their self-talk sounds like on the way to whatever it is that they want to accomplish, right? A lot of times it's really negative. So I'll ask people, like, after you beat the shit out of yourself verbally, do you feel more inclined or less inclined to get into meaningful, consistent action towards your goal? And like inevitably, I always get dead silence. When I ask people that question, because they have to take a pause and realize, oh yeah, like I'm doing it to myself, right? The reason I don't feel motivated to get into action, much less actually in action, is because of the way that I'm talking to myself about what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So I'm connected to myself in a negative way.
Yeah.
Kind of like me this morning going, bitch, get out of bed and go work out.
Yeah. Well, and like
and I didn't.
I imagine it like, think about like a slave driver, right? Like that's such a negative image and a connotation, right? But like whipping an animal into submission.
This is 2021. We can't talk about that kind of stuff.
Oh, I don't give a shit what people say I can't talk about. But like whipping an animal into submission to get them to do what you want them to do, right?
Steals life from them.
Yeah, like your spirit, your body, your psyche does not respond to that.
Yeah.
And it's a very old school way of thinking and of being. But I'll tell you, a lot of people are in that, and they're doing it to themselves all the time.
Yeah, and I think you're segueing really, really well into our second key element, which is creativity, right? So are you creatively able to participate in your space, right? Are you able to use your mind in a way that drives the motivation because you know you get to have your touch in it, right? Versus what you were just talking about was very like degrading of ourselves or emasculating, if you're a male, of your own self, right? So this second key element would be creativity, right? Do you look around and see your touch inside of what you do, right? Or better yet, does your job inspire you to use your creative mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, creativity it's an energy, and it's something that lives inside of us. It's something that we're all capable of. It's something that was perfectly normal and so much fun to like be with and play with when we were kids. And then at some point in time in our growing up process, somebody said, turn off your imagination. That's dumb. That's childish, and your creativity went out the door with it, and it's really unfortunate because we were created by a powerful creator to be powerful creators, right? Like that is who we are. That is what we are at the core. We are powerful creators. We're so powerful we don't even realize how powerful we are. But think about this. We're so powerful as creators, we can actually create our own bondage and slavery. We put ourselves there all the time. Right? Voluntarily and involuntarily. We don't even realize that we're doing it. This is how powerful we are at creating.
Love it.
That we don't even realize what the hell we're creating when we're doing it. Right? That's how natural it comes. It's like breathing. Right. Okay? So we have this natural and innate ability to create. And at the same time, you hear people saying, I'm not creative.
Oh, God. I think it's because they've spent so much time being told that the creative space is childish.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you don't know how to get back into that. And if you do, there's this negative thought process around, am I being a child by doing this? Right? And the thing that I would tell you is look at every songwriter and every actor, every musician under the sun, and tell me they're not living in their creative space. Right? They have the creativity to create a whole new person for a movie, a brand new song that allows you to feel some kind of emotion, right? So ask yourself, if you're listening to this, are you creative in your space right now? Are you creative at work?
Yeah. Do you even allow yourself to go there, right? Or are you letting your fears about finances, about whatever it is, having to be a certain way,
right,
to stifle your creativity? And I think a lot of people, especially in business, like we think like, oh, well, creativity is for artists, it's for people who paint and do photography. And
I got news for you. Every one of you are artists, by the way.
Like every single day we're creating. Doesn't matter what field you're in. You couldn't not create if you tried. Like you'd have to die to stop creating.
But here's the thing, right? So I enjoy doing this, right? I enjoy recording these with you. I enjoy doing my courses for my healthcare people, talking to my healthcare people, doing seminars, doing speaking engagements, writing books. Like that's what I enjoy doing. So because it allows me to dive into my creative side
Creating
and
content.
Connect with people, right? My creativity allows me to connect with people, right? So there's two of the elements that we need for motivation right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
what
so good.
doesn't promote my creativity is building the websites and doing the tagging on social media and doing it. That shit does not build my creative genius. I don't enjoy doing that. And to me, I'm like, fuck, I feel like I'm suffocating doing that because I'm not staying in my zone, right? And you have a really cool concept around zone of genius. So I want our listeners to kind of tap into that. So your creativity in your zone of genius versus forcing yourself in other areas.
Yeah. I mean, what I tell people is if it doesn't feel good, if what you're doing doesn't feel good, you need to really step back for a moment and assess, why am I doing this? Anytime that we pull ourselves outside of our zone of genius, it doesn't mean that you're not creating or creative or that you can't be anymore, because you can actually be really good at something you don't enjoy doing.
Right.
I mean, I happen to be really good at several things that I don't particularly enjoy doing.
Brag on yourself, girl.
I mean, like even growing up, right? Like I was really good at math. I don't really want to be a mathematician or sit down and be a banker or anything like that, but like I'm fucking good at it,
You don't want to be my CPA?
I got good grades at it, things like that. No, I don't want to do that for a living, But like, so you can be good at things you don't necessarily enjoy, and it can still bring out creativity in you, and to whatever extent you allow it. But, when you pull yourself out of your zone of genius and then you start to experience things like frustration, annoyance, and really starting to do that to your own detriment, that is an opportunity for you to step back and look like, are you in some limiting beliefs about how to go about getting this project or this task done?
Yeah.
Right? Are you devaluing your time by telling yourself a story that only you can do it right, or only you can do it period, or you can't afford to pay someone else to do this thing that you really don't enjoy, right? Like I know that your goal is to get to a point in time where you're paying somebody to manage your social media for you, right? And I know that you've looked into that in detail, right? But like there's people out there that are going, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself because I can't afford to pay someone. And you've never even looked to see if you could find someone who could do that thing for you at a price that is reasonable for you, because that's relative, and also in a way that would accomplish the goals that you need to accomplish.
Right. And if you loop this back into our thrive and survive, right, you're burning way too many calories, right, mentally to try to figure all this shit out. And eventually your brain says, this is not helping me survive or thrive. Fuck this. And you stop. Right. And so this is entering into our third element, our last element here, which is challenge. Right. If you want to feel motivated, you got to have a challenge that's going to keep you in the game. But if the challenge is too great, you're going to tend to say, fuck it, and not do it. Right. You're going to let it run.
It's very easy to become discouraged.
Right. Yeah. So there's a fine line in your challenge. I look at it this way. If I'm a sports guy and I've played sports my entire life, if we're playing a one-on-one basketball game and I'm kicking your ass, that's not challenging to me. Right. But if we're playing a game and we're going, 8-7, 9-8, 9-9, that's a challenge. Like, let's go. Like, I'm motivated now to beat you.
Sure. That competitive spirit kicks
that's
in.
there.
Yeah.
That's there. But if I'm kicking your ass or I'm getting my ass kicked, I'm kind of like, no, this is out, right? So if you want to stay motivated, the challenge has to be there, but the challenge also has to be something that you can overcome too, right? It has to be something that you feel like you can potentially win at. If it's not, you're going to set yourself up for failure, or for that institution of the limiting belief, which is maybe this isn't meant to be, or this is too hard for me, I don't know what to do, and so I shut down.
Right. Well, and think about it, like telling yourself all of those things does not generate the energy of motivation inside of you.
Absolutely
If anything, it does the exact opposite, which is discouragement. And discouragement is also a feeling that we create and that we generate inside of our bodies.
Right.
But it's also extraordinarily detrimental. Like, it's one thing to not feel motivated to get into action. It is something else to actually be discouraged, right? Like, it takes effort and action to get out of the energy and the vibration of discouragement, right? Like, it's like you're one rung on the ladder below not having motivation now. Like, you're straight up discouraged,
Right. It's like that old stupid saying about it takes so many muscles to smile, but twice as many to frown. Like, it's so dumb. It's cliche, which, in this world, cliche is an apparent truth that we've started to take for granted, right? So, but it is very true. It takes a lot more energy to be down in the dump than it does to stay on a positive.
Yeah. I don't know if it takes more energy to like be there, but it definitely takes more energy to get yourself out of it, right? And for some people, a lot of people, and I think everybody's been there at some point in time, you get to a point where you can't actually get yourself out of it. And now you need help.
Right. Absolutely.
You need a coach, a mentor, you need to talk to a friend who understands, or a counselor, therapist, whatever it might be.
Can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah. But you get into that place where it's like, it's like you're in a fog. A mental fog, an emotional fog. It's so thick you can't see your hand in front of your own face.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the world of motivation, we've gone through these key elements, this idea that you need to have both connection and creativity.
Yeah.
And lastly, a challenge, right? To keep you going. And so which one of those three in your journey do you think really has shown up for you, or all of them at one point or another? What's something that you have either struggled with from a motivational standpoint, or have found comfort in staying connected, creative, or challenged?
I've been in all three of them at different points in time. I think at different points, and also depending on what you're working on, they are they don't always show up equally. There's like, sometimes I feel very, very challenged, but I'm not feeling creative. Sometimes I'm really in that creative space, and also this is really easy, like I'm going to bang this out because this is super easy. Like, sometimes you really need to give yourself some wins by doing some things that are easy.
Pick the simple ones and knock them
Right.
out.
But if you focus entirely on like just getting the easy stuff done in your business or in your day or in your relationship, and you're not actually facing any of the challenging moments, you're not growing. You're not growing. And so I think for me, staying connected is probably the most important one, because creativity comes kind of naturally to me.
Right.
And also because I'm in purpose-driven work all of the time, I'm constantly feeling challenged. I'm constantly stretching and growing myself and finding myself in moments where like it's me versus me, right? And like that challenge of like, oh shit, okay, here we go, right? Like, which is, I think, probably one of the only real challenge that ever exists is you versus you.
True.
So like, I feel like I'm there constantly,
Yeah.
And so being creative, again, like that's relatively easy. Sometimes I feel like I'm the one that has to actually like rein it back a little bit, because I do want to be like, oh, let's try this. Or can I tell you, I have an idea. I have another idea. Like, and you've been through this with me. I'm like, what do you think of this?
Overflow. And I'm like, bro, first of all, let's finish this one. Let's start here.
Yeah, no, I have all of the ideas and I want to do all the things all the time, So, but like staying connected versus like that, like I have this idea and I want to start that. And now I want to start this. And now I want to start this other thing, And like, it's like, okay, stay connected to the vision and the reason that I wanted to pursue that one thing in the first place. So that's where my work lies, is like staying connected, staying with the vision, really allowing myself to go long term with the vision. Because otherwise my vision is like, within the next year, boom, let's do this.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I'm just like, I'll deal with it and I get there.
I get it.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah. For me, my biggest one, and especially in recent years, has been connection. Because have you ever done something and you're just like, I just don't know if this is for me anymore. But then everybody else is around you says, but you're so good at it. So that was me as a provider, right? Very, very good at working with people and helping them overcome their physical limitations, right? My background is in physical rehabilitation, and I was really good at it. But the longer I did it, the more I'm like, I just wasn't connected to it. It almost became like a routine of just, I'm pushing people through the stuff. They're getting better. I enjoyed the conversation and the connection to the person, but not the connection to the work. And so when I said to myself, I really want to go into learning how to build better businesses and teach people how to build better businesses, right? And every now and again, I'll get my beak wet still. Somebody will hit me up and just say, hey, I got a problem. You think you could help me? And I go, yeah. And I get a little bit of that fun. And I'm like, okay, I'm good, but I don't need to keep doing this. But the problem comes with when other people are saying, but you're so good at it. And I'm like, but I'm not connected to it.
Yeah.
And you almost feel forced to try to find a connection that's not there. Yeah. And, I didn't want to treat anymore. I wanted to be the guy that helped other people build amazing businesses so they could focus on their connection to their people, right? And their business would run smoothly. But the other people would say stuff like, well, but you haven't done that before. You sure you sure you're going to be good at it? And I'm like, bitch, if I'm connected to it and I feel creativity in it and I'm challenged by it, I'm going to be motivated to do it. So all of you can kiss my ass for doubting me, right? But I think a lot of people get to that point where somebody tells them, but you're so good at it. Yeah. And they try to flip that switch to think that, well, they should just keep doing it rather than do the thing that their own inner self is dying to do.
Man, I mean, I think this is the thing that keeps people stuck in careers, relationships.
That they hate.
On projects,
that
on teams.
That they hate.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah, that they really loathe and wake up in the morning and go, shit, right? Like versus like waking up in the morning and going like, oh man, this is going to be great. I can't wait to work on such and such, or I can't wait to go see such and such person. Like that. If you're in the space, just like to have a reflective moment with listeners, right? Like if you're at a point in time in your life where you're having that experience where you might be a freaking rock star at whatever it is that you do, but you feel totally disconnected from it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feed your soul. It drains your vitality. Maybe it even makes you feel bad about yourself or how you spend your time. Like, it is time to reflect, because you are being transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, listen to the words I'm saying. I'm not saying it's time for you to transition. I just said you are being transitioned.
Right.
Your soul is trying to speak to you.
Right.
You have lost your comfort in what it is that you're doing and where it is that you're at. And that is a clear signal that it is time to look at your life, to look at your career, your relationships, and figure out what it is that you are being transitioned out of, and hopefully get some clarity on what it is that you're being transitioned into.
Yeah.
But even if you can't figure out what you're being transitioned into, you need to get clear that whatever it is that you're in that is
making you miserable,
that is making you miserable and hurting and disempowering your spirit, is something that you are being called out of, because you are being called toward something else.
It's kind of like the battle between the left brain and the right brain. So all you analytical folks out there, right? All you, those the left brainers, the right brainers? I can never remember which one is which. So the left brainers, I'm talking to you. You creative people out there, or you analytical people out there on the left side of the brain who are stuck in, I'm comfortable here and I'm good at this. Listen for a second to the creative side of your brain, because it is typically that why feeling. It's that soul feeling. It's that thing that tells you you need to, and you yearn to, and you want to do something other than what you're doing.
Well, and staying in that nonsense, staying in that place of suffering, the only reason you're there is fear.
Right. Or ego. Your ego wants that continued pain to remind you that you're somebody or something.
Sure. Your need for significance is kicking in, and or is stronger than your need and desire for happiness. Or maybe you have other limiting beliefs that make you think you don't deserve, or you don't deserve happiness, or it's not possible for you, right? It's not possible to get out of whatever it is that you're at that's detrimental to you. But, I'm saying it from a place of complete non-judgment and love, because I've been there. I was in that place. I was in that place in my career at some point in time where I really couldn't see how I could make a jump from what I had been doing for 15 plus years to something new. Even though what I was doing wasn't feeding my spirit anymore, and I felt completely disconnected at some point in time, and over time became very uncomfortable. But I'll tell you what, nothing was more uncomfortable than being there and knowing I don't belong here anymore.
Right. Right. So tough. So tough.
This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing with my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this have felt that before, or maybe you're currently feeling it now. And I would challenge you to go back and think about these three aspects of motivation. Where are you feeling them, or are you feeling them at all? Is this driving you to not live the life that you want to live? And if this has been an episode that you've gotten a lot of value from, please shoot us an email. You can get to us at connect@edgyentrepreneur.podcast.com, or you can go to edgyentrepreneur.podcast.com. Shoot us an email. We'd love to hear your thoughts, hear your woes, hear your triumphs, all those kinds of things. We love connecting with our audience. Please subscribe, leave us a review on here. We would definitely appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. And join us every Tuesday afternoons at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we have a Clubhouse talk. We have a club room called Edgy Entrepreneur. So if you join the club, you'll get notifications about when we host rooms and conversations. And typically what we're doing is we're having conversations very similar to this one, only that they include you. So if you join Clubhouse, and if you're not a member of Clubhouse, one of us can send you an invitation. Just reach out to us on Instagram. But you can join these conversations. You can ask us questions. We're happy to coach. We're happy to provide support. We're happy to listen also. And you have the opportunity to not just be a listener, but to actually engage in these conversations with us, which is exciting because we don't always have a chance to engage in conversation with the people we listen to on podcasts.
Very, very true. Thanks everybody for tuning in today. We look forward to continuing to bring you guys more value, more episodes in the future. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Stay edgy, everyone.